This story is titled, It Comes in a Jar. I was enamored before I even knew the word. My first experience of love was my mom, her scent and sound. When I learned the word, I'd tell Dad, I love you. He'd always answer, I love you more. Love was abundant. I rooted in it. But I had another mother too, Mother Earth. Her family's full of signs and wonders. My siblings, sand dunes rolling like waves across a wide open desert, monsoon showers cooling me, lightning bugs flickering on summer nights. If that isn't love, what is? Like all good mothers, Mother Earth fed me. Think berries and beans. She inspired me. Think waterfalls and rainbows. She schooled me too about love. Think dawn. Her welcome brightens every morning. Think hydrogen and oxygen. They gave up their independence, joined forces, made a new thing, water, love in action. Scientists might describe this action as a particle or a wave. I know it's love drawing us toward each other, creating new solutions, weaving us into communities and galaxies. Of course, it depends on how you see it. But as my husband says, I'll see it when I believe it. I crouched down. I just moved the hose from the palm to the bird of paradise. I watched water sink into the earth. I watched earth absorb the water. I knew that's how I had to listen to my husband, without impatience, without jumping to conclusions. I had to soak up every word. That's love. I visit my 87-year-old neighbor almost daily. Her name's Carrie. We share news and memories, talk of family. She tells me it's wonderful to have family if you can all get along. That's the first test in life, I guess. Otherwise, it's perpetual war. Just so, I agreed. As I leave, Carrie reminds me, give that man of yours a hug. I do. It tickles Rick. Then he tells me, give Carrie 2 hugs. On my next visit, I do, which delights Carrie. Love in action. I asked Carrie, can you define love? She thought, then said, it's deep caringness. At its best, it's almost impossible to destroy. Yet we seem hesitant to use the word. It's powerful. Maybe we're scared, suspicious, even hate. A refrain from the musical South Pacific tells me we have to be taught to hate. We have to be carefully taught. From the time when we're 6 or 7 or 8, we have to be perfectly taught. At lunch with a friend recently, the topic came up. She asked me, have you ever hated? I don't remember, I said, but she does. It was when her son and grandchildren were treated with such viciousness during a divorce. I asked her, how does it feel? It's painful, she said. It's destructive, it's obsessive. I kept going over and over things I wanted to say, but I never said a word. It's terrible. I've never gotten over it. Now, quantum physics proves we're all entangled. If one of us suffers, we all suffer. So what's love have to do with it? I asked Debbie. She says the minute I feel it, it's recognizable. There's an expansion. That's what love asks. That I care deeply enough to open, to let it run through me. It's hard to hold a grudge or hate. It's unnatural. It blocks the momentum. It stops my growth. Not loving, as Carrie says, is insanity, a war we never win. Carrie speaks of encouragement too, another face of love. That movement of the heart from me to you and another you and another you. As Carrie says, encouragement is absolutely necessary because that keeps the good going. I asked another friend, Harriet, in her 90s, to define love. She told me love is fulfillment. It heals, it thrives and grows, but only when you pass it on or give it away. Love needs to circulate. That's why I keep hosting storytelling events, because with all the stories I've heard, my cup overflows. Those stories needed to be passed on to thrive, to heal community. Now, Rick, my husband, uses the word sparingly. I'll tell him, I love you, dear. He'll answer, ditto. Then he reminds me, there are all kinds of ways to say I love you. Some of it comes in a jar. There it was, my favorite latte, made by my husband, hot and ready for me. Rick and I show up for each other. We might sit outside of a morning, quiet, waiting to see what comes. One morning, Rick said, I've always worshiped light. Why? I asked. I could control it, he replied. He told me what happened when he was 7 or 8 years old. I'd wired a battery to a light bulb. I fell asleep holding it to my chest. The next morning, Mom told me she saw light going on and off under the covers. Every time I inhaled, then exhaled, contact was made, then broken. Well, I'm glad we share light, Rick. Tell me more. Well, he went on to explain resistors. Resistors control the current coming into a system. As he said, to save you from burning out your shit. I wondered. Circumstances can be resistors, I said. They can slam a door in your face, force you to stand up, find another way. Look at us, Rick, we're still together. After 50 years, that's some resistance training. Rick replied, it's all right. What? I said. It's more than all right. Our marriage is a blessing. I was miffed. He looked at me. You have to slow it down, he said. Was I jumping to conclusions? I don't think so. I know what all right meant. Adequate. But all right, all right. I took another look. Could be 2 words. All as in whole and complete. Right as in our hearts agree. I got it. Now what? I asked. Tolerance is an aspect of love, Rick said. Sometimes you have to tolerate difficult things, people's weaknesses, but love's stronger than the weaknesses. Tolerance makes you stronger. Not at the seams, he gestured, in the whole. I imagine tolerance mending a broken heart, stitching seams with understanding and patience, uniting the heart again in a new whole, wiser and stronger. During these stay-at-home days, I've had time to talk with my husband, to write letters, to order books for others, to visit Carrie. Is that love? I asked another friend in her 90s about love. Without hesitation, Esme replied, love is prayer. Now, I know prayers call down blessings, like moonlight on water. One's taped to my bathroom mirror. My daughter wrote it. It reads in part, my mother's love were the ingredients I needed to begin life. And it's that same love I still rely on and return to for nurturing. Love begins life. I've always been a fool for it. I called Ellen, our Malibu poet laureate. She died a few days later, but with what voice she had left, she whispered, I know I'm in a very special place when I talk with you. I know love creates that place where we can blossom. Imagine that, all of us blossoming. This world's full of signs and wonders, water sinking into the earth, reminding me to listen, friends and neighbors encouraging me to keep the good going, and a husband who's blessed me with 50 years of resistance training. From dawn to dawn, I'm carried in love's lifeboat, rescued from pitfalls of hatred and grudging. What's love got to do with it? Everything. As Rick says, it's the ultimate reality, and sometimes it comes in a jar. Go figure.